listening or watching Radio Afinju. The time is 6 p.m.
Ẹ bá mi pè o. Kí lorúkọ rẹ̀? Rédíò. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ Àfínjú. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń wo Àfínjú. Lórí WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, lórí X, lórí YouTube, lórí TikTok. Kí lorúkọ rẹ̀? Ẹ bá mi pè o. Rédíò. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ Àfínjú. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń wo Àfínjú. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ Àfínjú. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń wo Àfínjú. Rédíò Àfínjú. Rédíò Àfínjú. Rédíò Àfínjú.
This is the world news on Radio Afinju.
First, a look at the highlights. Federal government pledges to hold child abusers accountable in Port Harcourt. Voter apathy mars by-elections despite tight security across the country. Erin becomes a Category 4 hurricane in the United States. Good evening and welcome to the World News on Radio Afinju. My name is Pearl Durotoye. The news in detail. The reported abuse of children in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, allegedly carried out under the guise of a spiritual cleansing exercise, has been described as barbaric, criminal, and a gross violation of the Child Rights Act. The Special Advisor on Media and Publicity to the Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, Jonathan Eze, said the Minister, Iman Sulaiman Ibrahim, condemned the act. The Minister commended the police force, particularly the Rivers State Command, for its swift intervention and also praised the Director General of the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, Benta Bello, for deploying a team promptly to rescue and safeguard the affected children. However, the minister advised that such reports should be channeled directly to the police, NAPTIP, or other law enforcement agencies to ensure quick intervention without compromising rescue efforts or the privacy of victims. According to the statement, the rescued children are now under protective custody and are receiving medical and psychosocial support in line with the provisions of the Child Rights Act, which has been domesticated across the 36 states of the Federation. A comprehensive institutional review of the 128-page report recently published by Amnesty International's report alleging a pattern of extrajudicial killings and human rights violations by the Nigeria Police Force and other security agencies in the southeast has been ordered. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, ordered that the report titled A Decade of Impunity, Attacks and Unlawful Killings in Southeast Nigeria be reviewed. A statement by the force public relations officer Olumuyiwa Adejobi in Abuja said the move was in line with Egbetokun's unwavering commitment to transparency, accountability and operational professionalism. While the MPS said it remained committed to upholding the fundamental rights of all citizens, it said it was equally necessary to place on record that previous reports by Amnesty International have on occasion included factual inaccuracies and sweeping generalizations. The IGP added that the current review will therefore be guided by facts, operational evidence and a dedication to institutional integrity. The Julius Abure faction of the Labour Party has dismissed reports that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, no longer recognizes Abure as national chairman. According to a statement from the National Publicity Secretary of the faction, Obiora E4 in Abuja, the Nenadi Usman faction was behind what it described as the propaganda. He claims that the Federal High Court's decisions of August 15, 2025 were allegedly misinterpreted to suit this narrative. For the records, E4 said 2 cases concerning Labour Party were decided and dismissed on Friday by the same court. By-elections held across some states in the country and was overshadowed by low voter turnout and packets of skirmishes despite tight security. In Ogun State, the Commissioner of Police, Larry Ogulowo, said the command is investigating the purported arrest of the state chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Abayomi Tella, and 2 staff of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Toriem Joe Stans and Mandara Amina Maman at Ikperu Remo today. They were said to have been caught with a huge amount of money suspected to be for vote buying in the ongoing Remo Federal Constituency by-election. Ogunowo disclosed this to newsmen when asked to confirm the content of a viral video showing the arrest of the PDP state chairman, the 2 INEC staff and some other people. The CP said they are investigating the matter and that was how much he could say. The polls conducted by the Independent National Electoral Commission, which were held in 16 constituencies in Jigawa State, Edo, Ogun, Oyo, Adamawa, Anambra, Kaduna, Kano, Taraba, Kogi, Niger, Enugu and Zamfara states, is to fill vacant seats in the Senate, House of Representatives and State Houses of Assembly occasioned by deaths and resignations. Following a complaint lodged at the Jabi division by 1 Okane men on July 23rd, the Federal Capital Territory Police Command has arrested suspected criminals and recovered 4 stolen vehicles in separate operations across the country. The police public relations officer of the command, Josephine Ade, in a statement, said Okane men reported that a driver, Abubakar Nuhu, of a Magana village, Toro local government area of Bauchi State, absconded with a trailer after delivering cement at a factory in Obajana, Kogi State. According to the statement, the driver removed 3 tracking devices from the vehicle but was unaware of a 4th hidden tracker which enabled operatives to trace and recover the trailer in Kaduna State where he was arrested. She said all identification inscriptions on the vehicle had been erased with black paint to prevent detection. In a separate operation, operatives of the Anti-Car Theft Section and the Scorpion Squad of the State Criminal Investigation Department recovered 3 other vehicles stolen at different times within the FCT. They include the white Toyota Hilux, an ash-colored Toyota Camry, and a Toyota Corolla Bank model. While the Hilux was recovered intact, the Camry and Corolla had already been dismantled and sold in parts as scrap. The police said two suspects, Ikechukwu Iweze and his accomplice Amobi, a former convict, were arrested in connection with receiving and reselling parts of the stolen vehicles. Both suspects confessed to the crime and will be charged in court after the investigation. One passerby has been killed and several others injured when a black Lexus Jeep driven by security operatives suspected to be DSS officials in a convoy rammed into two tricycles along the People's Club Limca Road, Obosi in Idemili North local government area of Anambra State. It was gathered that the incident, which happened earlier in the day, created panic in the area as occupants of the two tricycles were immediately rushed to an undisclosed nearby hospital where they were said to have been placed on a danger list. The spokesman for the Anambra State Police Command, Tochukwu Ikenga, who confirmed the accident, however, said preliminary enquiries confirmed that the recovered vehicle does not belong to any security agency in the state, as speculated. On the foreign scene, Hong Kong pro-democracy activist Ted Hui has been granted asylum in Australia more than 4 years after he left Hong Kong, where he faces criminal charges over the 2019 pro-democracy protest. The former lawmaker, who disclosed this in a Facebook post, said he received written notice from the Australian Department of Home Affairs approving his claim and that his wife, children and parents were also granted visas. A former Democratic Party lawmaker, Hui left Hong Kong late 2020 after facing criminal charges over the 2019 pro-democracy protests. In 2023, Hong Kong accused him and 7 others of national security offenses, including incitement to secession, and put $127,782 bounties on their heads. Australia said it was disappointed by the decision at the time and concerned about the law. In Europe, several European leaders jointly pledged to continue support for Ukraine and maintain pressure on Russia until the war in Ukraine ends after a summit in Alaska between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. The joint statement from leaders, including German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, French President Emmanuel Macron, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, was issued after Trump briefed them on his talks with Putin. It said the next step must be talks with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and that they were ready to work with Trump and Zelensky towards a three-way summit with European support. Trump said after his talks with Putin that Ukraine should agree a deal to end the war with Russia. He said he had agreed with Russian leader that the best way to do this was to go straight into a peace settlement rather than via a ceasefire, something hitherto opposed by Kyiv and its European allies. In the Americas, the United States National Hurricane Center says Hurricane Erin has developed into a dangerous Category 4 hurricane, adding that maximum sustained winds have increased to 215 kilometers per hour with higher gusts. NHC said Erin is expected to produce areas of heavy rainfall through Sunday across the northern Leeward Islands, the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. Erin is the 5th named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season, which runs from June 1st to November 30th, but the first to reach hurricane status. AccuWeather's lead hurricane expert, Alex Da Silva, said water temperatures at the surface and hundreds of feet deep are several degrees higher than the historical average. The U.S. government has deployed more than 200 employees from the Federal Emergency Management Agency and other agencies to Puerto Rico as a precaution as forecasters issued a flood watch for the entire U.S. territory from late Friday into Monday. While Puerto Rico Housing Secretary Ciary Perez Penas said 367 shelters have been expected and could be opened if needed. Meanwhile, hundreds of Air Canada employees formed picket lines outside a major Canadian airport today, hours after unionized flight attendants walked off the job in a contract dispute that has disrupted travel for tens of thousands of passengers. The strike had forced Canada's largest airline to suspend the majority of its 700 daily flights, affecting more than 100,000 travelers who were forced to find alternative flights or stay put. Reports said there was no bargaining sessions scheduled between the two sides, which have held on and off negotiations for months. The Canadian Union of Public Employees, representing more than 10,000 Air Canada flight attendants, confirmed the stoppage in a social media post, the first strike by Air Canada flight attendants since 1985. Outside Toronto Pearson International Airport, the country's busiest, hundreds of cabin crew waved flags, banners, and picked all of the country's major airports, including in Toronto, Montreal, Calgary, and Vancouver. Now talking sports. Newcastle failed to score without striker Alexander Isak as they were held by 10-man Aston Villa. Villa played the final 24 minutes plus stoppage time with 10 men after Ezri Konsa was dismissed, but with Isak missing as he tries to force a move to Liverpool, the Magpies were unable to find a winner. Anthony Elanga and Anthony Gordon wasted their best chances during a dominant first half, but debutant Marco Bizot made a fine save to deny new £55 million winger Elanga inside 3 minutes before Gordon planted a free header over. The forward, playing centrally in place of Isak, also tested Bizot as the Magpies failed to make their superiority count. Still talking sports, the remains of one of the nation's most revered sports icons, Chairman Christian Chukwu, has been laid to rest in his village near Enugu. The night of tributes held on Thursday, where Governor Peter Mba announced the retirement of the legendary number 5 jersey worn by Chukwu during his career with Rangers International, then a novelty football match on Friday at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium, which featured some former Nigerian international. At the event, the governor pledged that the Enugu state government will take responsibility for the welfare of 109 former Rangers players and equally said the state would work with the federal government to further immortalize Chukwu's name. Chukwu, revered for his leadership and defensive mastery, captained both Enugu Rangers and the Nigerian national team, leading the country to its first Africa Cup of Nations title in 1980. He later managed the Super Eagles and Rangers, earning respect for his discipline, humility, and commitment to the game. The former captain and head coach of the Super Eagles died in the early hours of Saturday, April 12, 2025, at the age of 74. Before we go, here again are the highlights. The federal government has described the reported abuse of children in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, allegedly carried out under the guise of a spiritual cleansing exercise as barbaric, criminal, and a gross violation of the Child's Rights Act.